Hello, my friendos. How is everybody doing? Get my mic up here. Switch over to my streaming music here. Maybe pull my mic down just a little bit. Figured out some things about my mic. Figured out mostly that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I had that going for me. Let's pull up our gate here a little bit. I don't think I want my gate. I want the compressor. Because it's not compressing enough. Well, it says it's compressing enough here. All right. My compression be good. I just need to turn down my volumes. All right. I think that's good. I don't think I'm peaking too bad now. I'll go up just a little bit more. How is everybody out there? That boy Nate, thanks for showing up. Miss V is there. We're going to read just a couple of Grimm's fairy tales for bedtime. So if it's that time for you, get into bed. Get your covers all set up. Autumn is already in her there in bed. Autumn, what are you doing? Autumn. She's looking the wrong way. But she's on her couch. She usually moves over to the other couch. Oh, Nicole's helping you make the bed? I bet she's helping so good. Terrible helping. I figured we would start with the two travelers tonight. So like I said, grab your headphones or put your phone there. Set a timer so it turns itself off. Get yourself in bed. Draw the covers up. Turn the heat on if you need to, or the air on if you need to, depending on where you are in your time zone. And let's... Oh, that's right. He barfed all over this morning. That's right. The Two Travelers by the Grimm brothers. Hill and vale do not come together, but the children of men do. Good and bad. In this way, a shoemaker and a tailor once met each other in their travels. The tailor was a handsome little fellow who was always merry and full of enjoyment. He saw the shoemaker coming toward him from the other side, and he observed by his bag what kind of trade he plied. He sang a mocking little song to him. Sew me the seam, draw me the thread, spread it with pitch, knock the nail on the head. The shoemaker, however, could not endure a joke. He pulled a face as if he had drunk vinegar. Come on, bro. You know, it's cool. Just, you got no chill. Shoemaker got no chill. And made a gesture as if he were about to seize the tailor by the throat. Dang, bro. But the little fellow began to laugh, reached him his bottle and said, "No harm was meant. Take a drink and swallow your anger down." The shoemaker took a very hearty drink, and the storm on his face began to clear away. He gave the bottle back to the tailor and said, "I spoke civilly to you. One speaks well after much drinking, but not after much thirst. Shall we travel together?" "All right," answered the tailor. "If it suits you to go into a big town where there's no lack of work, that's just where I want to go," answered the shoemaker. "In a small nest there is nothing to earn, and in the country people like to go barefoot." They traveled therefore onward together, and always set one foot before the other like a weasel in the snow. That's a new saying. Both of them had time enough, but a little bite and to break. When they reached a town, they went about and paid their respects to the tradesmen, because the tailor looked so lively and merry and had such a pretty red cheeks. Every one of him gave him work willingly. And when luck was good, the master's daughter gave him a kiss beneath the porch as well. When he again fell in with the shoemaker, the tailor had always had the most in his bundle. The ill-tempered shoemaker made a wry face and thought, The greater the rascal, the more the luck. But the tailor began to laugh and to sing, and shared all he got with his comrade. If a couple of pence jingled in his pocket, he ordered good cheer, and thumped the table in his joy till the glasses danced, and it was lightly come and lightly go with him. When they had traveled for some time, they came to a great forest, through which passed a road to the capital. 2 footpaths, however, led through it, one of them a 7-day journey, and the other one only 2, but neither the travelers knew which was which. They seated themselves beneath an oak tree and took counsel together as what they should do, for how many days they should provide themselves with bread. The shoemaker said, "One must look before one leaps. I will take with me bread for a week." "What?" the tailor said. "Drag bread for 7 days on one back like a beast of burden, and not be able to look about? I shall trust in God, and not trouble myself about anything. The money I have in my pockets is as good as summer as it is in winter, but in hot weather bread gets dry and moldy into the bargain. Even my coat doesn't go as far as it might. Besides, why should we not find the right way? Bread for 2 days, that's enough." Each therefore brought his own bread, and then they tried their luck in the forest. It was as quiet there as in church. No wind stirred, no brook murmured, no bird sang, and through the thickly leaved branches no sunbeam forced its way. The shoemaker never spoke a word, with the heavy bread weighing down his back until the perspiration streamed down his cross and gloomy face. The tailor, however, was quite merry. He jumped about, whistled on a leaf, sang on a song, and thought to himself, "God in heaven must be pleased to be seeing me so happy." This lasted 2 days. But on the third, the forest would not come to an end, and the tailor had eaten up all his bread. So after all, his heart sank down a yard deeper. In the meantime, he did not lose courage, but relied on God and on his luck. On the 3rd day, he lay down in the evening hungry under a tree, and rose again the next morning hungry still. And so passed on the 4th day. When the shoemaker seated himself on a fallen tree, devoured his dinner, the tailor was only a looker-on. If he begged for a little piece of bread, the other laughed mockingly and said, "You've always been so merry, now you can try for once what it's to be sad. The birds which sang too early in the morning are struck by the hawk in the evening." In short, he was pitiless. But on the 5th morning, the poor tailor could no longer stand up, and was hardly able to utter one word for weakness. His cheeks were white and his eyes were red. The shoemaker said, "I'll give you a bit of bread today, but in return for it, I'll put out your right eye." Okay. The unhappy tailor, who still wished to save his life, could not do it in any other way. He wept once more with both eyes and then held them out. The shoemaker, who had a heart of stone, put out his right eye with a sharp knife. Thank you, Brothers Grimm. Little German cheer for us here tonight. The tailor called to remembrance what his mother had formerly said to him when he'd been eating secretly in the pantry. "Eat what one can and suffer what one must." When he had consumed his dearly bought bread, he got on his legs again, forgot his misery, and comforted himself with the thought that he could always see enough with one eye. And on the 6th day, hunger again gnawed at him almost to his heart. In the evening, he fell down by the tree, and on the 7th morning, he could not raise himself up for faintness, and death was close at hand. But then said the shoemaker, "I will show you mercy and give you bread once more. But you shall not have it for nothing. I shall put out your other eye." And now the tailor felt how thoughtless his life had been, prayed to God for forgiveness, and said, "Do what you will. I will bear what I must. But remember that our Lord God does not always look on passively, and that an hour will come when the evil deed which you have done to me, which I have not deserved of you, may be requited. When times were good with me, I shared what I had with you. My trait is of that kind that each stitch must always be exactly like the other. If I no longer have my eyes, I can no longer sew. I must go begging. At any rate, Do not leave me here alone when I am blind, or I shall die of hunger." The shoemaker, however, who had driven God out of his heart, took the knife and put out his left eye, then gave him a bit of bread to eat, held out a stick, and drew him on behind. When the sun went down, they got out of the forest. Before him in the open country stood the gallows. Thither the shoemaker guided the blind tailor and left him alone and went his way. Weariness, pain, and hunger made the wretched man fall asleep, and when he slept the whole night. When dawn he awoke and knew not where to lay. 2 poor sinners were hanging on the gallows, and a crow sat on the head of each of them. Then one of the men who had been hanged began to speak. "Brother, are you awake?" "Yes, I'm awake," answered the second. "Then I will tell you something," said the first. "The dew which this night has fallen down over us from the gallows gives everyone who washes himself his eyes again. If blind people but knew this, how many would regain their sight and do not believe that to be possible?" When the tailor heard, he took his pocket handkerchief, pressed it on the grass, and when it was moist with dew, he washed the sockets of his eyes. Immediately was fulfilled what the man on the gallows had said. A couple of healthy eyes filled his sockets. It was not long before the tailor saw that the sunrise behind the mountains. It was plain before him lay the great royal city with its magnificent gates and 100 towers. The golden balls and crosses on where spires began to shine. He could distinguish every leaf on the trees, saw the birds which flew past, and the midges which danced in the air. He took a needle out of his pocket, and he could see thread as well as he had ever done. His heart danced with delight. He threw himself on his knees, thanked God for the mercy he had shown him, and said his morning prayer. He then took the bundle on his back, and soon forgot the pain of heart he had endured, and went on singing and whistling. The first thing he met was a brown foal running in the fields at large. He caught it by the mane, wanting to spring on it and ride it into town. The foal, however, begged to be free. "I'm still too young," it said. "Even a light tailor such as you would break my back in 2. Let me go till I have grown strong. A time may have come when I can reward you for it." "Run off," said the tailor. "I see you are still a giddy thing." He gave it a touch with a switch over its back, whereupon it kicked up on its hind legs for joy, leapt over the hedges and ditches, and galloped away into the open country. But the little tailor had eaten nothing from the day before. "The sun, be sure, fills my eyes," said he, "but bread does not fill my mouth. The first thing that comes across me that's even half eatable will have to suffer for it." In the meantime, a stork stepped solemnly over the meadow towards him. "Halt, halt," cried the tailor, and seized him by the leg. "I don't know if you're good to eat or not, but my hunger leaves me no great choice. I must cut off your head and roast you." "Don't do that," replied the stork. "I am a sacred bird which brings mankind great profit, and no one ever does me an injury. Leave me my life, and I may do you good in some way." "Well, be off, good cousin Longlegs," said the tailor. The stork rose up, let its long legs hang down, and flew gently away. "What's to be the end of this?" the tailor said to himself at last. "My hunger grows greater and greater, and my stomach more and more empty. Whatsoever comes this way now is lost." "You come just about at the right moment." At this moment, he saw a couple of young ducks who were on the pond, swimming towards him. "You came just about the right moment," and he laid hold of one of them and was about to wring its neck. On this, an old duck, which was hidden among the reeds, began to scream loudly and swam with him on the open beak and begged him urgently to spare her dear children. "Can you not imagine," said she, "how your mother would mourn if any of you were to be carried off and given your death blow?" "Only be quiet," said the good-tempered tailor. "You shall keep your children." And he put the prisoner back in the water. When he turned around, he was standing in front of an old tree which was partly hollow and some wild bees flying out of it. "There I shall now find my reward of my good deed. The honey will refresh me." But the queen bee came out, threatened him, and said, "If you touch my people and destroy my nests, our stings shall pierce your skin like 10,000 red-hot needles. But if you leave us in peace, we will do you a service at some later time." The little tailor saw that there was nothing to be done. 3 dishes empty and nothing on the 4th is a bad dinner. He dragged himself, therefore, with his starved-out stomach into the town. It was just striking 12, and all was ready cooked for him at the inn, and he was able to sit down once to dinner. When he was satisfied, he said, "Now I'll go get work." He went around town, sought a master, and soon found a good station. As he thoroughly learned his trade, it was not long before he became famous, and everyone wanted to have a new coat made by the little tailor, whose importance increased daily. "I can go no further in skill," said he, "yet things improve every day." At last, the king appointed him court tailor. But how things do happen in the world. On the very same day, his former comrade, the shoemaker, also became the court shoemaker. When the latter caught sight of the tailor and saw that he had two healthy eyes, his conscience troubled him. "Before he takes revenge on me," thought to himself, "I must dig a pit for him." He, however, who digs a pit for another falls into it himself. In the evening, when his work was over and it had grown dusk, he stole to the king and said, "Lord King, the tailor is an arrogant fellow and has boasted that he will get the gold crown back again, which he lost in ancient times." "That would please me very much," said the king. He caused the tailor to be brought before him the next morning and ordered him to get the crown back again or leave town forever. "Ooh," thought the tailor, "a rogue gives me more than he's got. If the surly king wants me to do what can be done by no one, I will not wait till morning, but I'll be out of the town today." He packed up his bundle, and when he was without the gate, he could not help but be sorry to give up his good fortune and turn his back on the town, in which all had gone so well with him. He came to the pond where he made acquaintance of the ducks. At that very moment, the old one whose young ones she spared, was sitting by the shore, pluming herself with her beak. She knew him again and asked why he was hanging his head. "You will not be surprised when you hear that what was befallen me," replied the tailor, and he told his fate. "If that be all," said the duck, "we can help you. The crown fell into the water, lies at the bottom. We will soon bring it back up for you. In the meantime, just spread out your handkerchief on the bank." She dived down with the 12 young ones, and in 5 minutes she was up again and the crown was resting on her wings. 12 young ones were swimming around and put their beaks under it, and when they helped carry it, they swam it to the shore and put the crown on the handkerchief. No one can imagine how magnificent the crown was. When the sun shone on it, it gleamed like 100,000 carbuncles. Hey, Jelly, who makes shoes? The tailor tied his handkerchief together by the four corners and carried it to the king, who was full of joy, and put a gold chain around the tailor's neck. When the shoemaker saw that one stroke had failed, he contrived a second. He went to the king and said, "Lord King, the tailor has become insolent again. He boasts that he will copy in wax the whole of the royal palace, with everything that pertains to it, loose or fast, inside and out." The king sent for the tailor and ordered him to copy in wax the whole of the royal palace, with everything that pertained to it, movable or immovable, within or without. And if he did not succeed in doing this, or he was one nail was left wanting, he should be imprisoned for his whole life. The tailor thought, "It gets worse and worse. No one can endure that," threw his bundle on his back and went forth. He came to the hollow tree. He sat down and hung his head. The bees came flying out, and the queen bee asked him if he had a stiff neck, since he held his head so awry. "Alas, no. Something quite different weighs me down," answered the tailor. And when he told her what the king had demanded of him, the bees began to buzz and hum amongst themselves, and the queen said, "Just go home again, but come back tomorrow at this time and bring a large sheet with you, and all will be well." So he turned back again, and the bees flew to the royal palace and straight into it through the open windows and crept around to every corner and inspected everything most carefully. They hurried back and modeled the palace in wax with such rapidity that anyone looking on would have thought it was growing before his eyes. By the time the evening come, it was all ready. And when the tailor came the next morning, the whole of the splendid building was there, and not one nail in the wall or tile on the roof was wanting. It was delicate withal, and white as snow, and smelled as sweet as honey. The tailor wrapped it carefully in his cloth and took it to the king, who could not admire it enough, placed it in his largest hall, and for return for it presented the tailor with a large stone house. The shoemaker, however, did not give up, went for a third time to the king and said, Lord King, it has come to the tailor's ears that no water will spring up in the courtyard of the castle. He has boasted that it shall rise up in the middle of the courtyard to a man's height and be as clear as crystal. When the king ordered the tailor, this song sucks. I don't like that song. Then the king ordered the tailor to be brought before him and said, if a stream of water does not rise in my courtyard tomorrow, as you have promised, the executioner shall have that very place make you shorter by the head. The poor tailor did not take long to think about it, but hurried out of the gate. And because this time it was a matter of life or death to him, tears rolled down his face. Whilst he was going forth to sour a foal, to which he had formerly given its liberty, which now became a beautiful chestnut horse, came leaping towards him. The time has come, it said to the tailor, when I can repay you for a good deed. I already know what's needful to you, but you shall soon have help. Get on me. My back can carry 2 such as you. The tailor's courage came back to him, jumped on in one bound, and the horse went off at full speed right into the courtyard of the castle. It galloped as quick as lightning thrice around it, and at the third time it fell violently down. At the same instant there was a terrifying clap of thunder. A fragment of earth in the middle of the courtyard sprang like a cannonball into the air and over to the castle. Directly after it, a jet of water rose as high as a man on horseback, and the water was pure as crystal, and the sunbeams began to dance on it. When the king saw that, he rose in amazement and went to embrace the tailor in the sight of all men. But good fortune did not last long. The king had daughters in plenty, each one prettier than the other, but he had no son. So the malicious shoemaker betook himself for a 4th time to the king and said, Lord King, the tailor has not given up his arrogance. He has now boasted that if he had liked, he could cause a son to be brought to the Lord King through the air. That shoemaker is a piece of shit. Gotta fuck this guy in particular over again. The king demanded the tailor to be summoned. If you cause a son to be brought with me within 9 days, you shall have my eldest daughter to wife. The reward is great indeed, thought the little tailor. One could willingly do something for it, but cherries grow too high for me, and if I climb them, the bough will break beneath me, and I shall fall. Okay. How did this one part lead to the next? Let's try this again, okay? Okay, here we go. The shoemaker said that the tailor said that he could make a king come through the air. Okay? And the king said, go do that, and you can have my eldest daughter to marry. And the tailor said, that sounds good. One would willingly do something for it, and then starts talking about cherries. But the cherries grow high for me. If I climb for them, the bough will break beneath me, and I shall fall. Oh, thank you, Jelly. Got it. This sounds difficult, is basically what he said. He went home, seated himself cross-legged at his work table, and thought over what was to be done. It can't be managed, cried at last. I'll go away. I can't live in peace here. He tied up his bundle and hurried away to the gate. When he got to the meadow, he perceived his old friend the stork. who was walking backward and forward like a philosopher. Sometimes he stood still, took a frog into close consideration, and at length swallowed it down. The stork came to him and greeted him. "I see," he began, "that you have your pack on your back. Why are you leaving town?" "Don't let your hair grow gray about that." Oh no, the tailor told him what the king had required of him, and he could not perform it, and lamented his misfortune. "Well, don't let your hair grow gray about that," said the stork. "I'll help you out of your difficulty. For a long time past, I have carried the children in swaddling clothes into the town. So for once, I can fetch a little prince out of the well." The well? "Go home and be easy. In 9 days from this time, repair to the royal palace, and there I will come." Daughters were, oh, I know. The little tailor went home and at the appointed time went to the castle. The well is where, oh, my bad on that one. Duh. It was not long before the stork came flying thither and tapped at the window. The tailor opened it, and Cousin Longlegs came carefully in and walked with solemn steps over the smooth marble pavement. He had a baby in his beak that was lovely as an angel, and stretched out his little hands to the queen. The stork laid it in her lap, and she caressed and kissed it, and was beside herself with delight. Before the stork flew away, he took his traveling bag off his back and handed it over to the queen. In it there were little parcels full of colored sweetmeats, and they were divided amongst the little princesses. Here's a picture. There's our tailor friend here, I guess. And I guess this is the oldest one? Okay, check this out. Before the stork flew away, hey, Cuchillian, hey, man. Before the stork flew away, he took over his bag, handed it to the queen, and there were little parcels full of sweetmeats, so they gave them to all the princesses. But the oldest princess got none of them, but got to marry the tailor instead. You know, as one does. You get no sweetmeats, but you're married. Oh, didn't want to marry? Didn't ask. You're married. Have a nice day. "It seems to me," said he, "just as I have won the highest prize. My mother was right after all. She always said that whoever trusts in God and his own fortune can never fail." The shoemaker had to make shoes in which the little tailor danced in at the wedding festival, after which he was commanded to quit the town forever. The road to the forest led him to the gallows. Worn out with anger, rage, and the heat of the day, he threw himself down. When he closed his eyes and was about to sleep, the 2 crows flew down from the heads of the men who were hanging there and pecked his eyes out. In his madness, he ran into the forest and must have died there for hunger, because no one's ever seen him or heard of him again. I really feel like the ending was rushed on this one. Like they just wanted to kind of throw in that the tailor got completely jacked up. Hey, Liam. Yeah, I don't know. That one, the ending seemed rushed on this one. You know, here's your, hey, thanks, Liam, for your Bezos bucks. He did just subscribe. Thanks for telling me that. And so here's your wife, and make me some shoes, and your eyes got plucked out and you're dead. It seemed rushed. All right, chat. Let's go to our table of contents here and pick another one for which to read upon. We've read quite a few of these so far. We read Iron Henry last time. We haven't read The Wolf of the Seven Kids. We have not read Rapunzel. We have not read Little Brother, Little Sister. You know, we've read a lot of these. We've got a lot left. Star Money, Fish and His Wife, Hansel and Gretel. We've got left. We did read The Ash Maiden. Star Money. You want to hear about that one? Okay. Now, if this sucks, blame Jelly. Okay? It's Jelly's fault if this is terrible. That's all I got to say. How is everybody today? Jelly, did you work today? I think you did work today. V did not work today, but she has a new desk coming into the house. Liam, how are you doing? What did you do today? You streamed twice the other day and had to fix your computer in the meantime. Ooh, yeah. Well, it's a new disc to her. More LaCroix for Jelly Gato. Liam, what did you eat today? Was a fam jam today. What's a fam jam? Like the family comes over for Easter? What'd you eat? Oh, yeah. D&D prep for that boy Nate. I unpacked, well, I went to brunch with my mom who's visiting. She's in bed now, so I have a little time to stream. And we went to brunch and it was freaking amazing. This restaurant we had not been to. It was awesome. And then I came home, had the kids pack up and go back to their moms, which they'll be living with me full time in another month. And we went to Short Lane Ice Cream and had some ice cream. My mom had salted caramel and I had buttered pecan. It was good. And then I came home and I was a little bored, so I unpacked a board game called Oathsworn, which, believe it or not, is a little bit bigger and weighs more than Gloomhaven. And it took me about 2 hours to sort it all. I don't know how many cards there are there. It's just like 1 billion. But it's really a nice looking game. So now it's all organized and we'll see how it goes. Did anybody go to families' houses for Easter? Anybody eat anything good? The Star Money. It's a short one. Let's look. Oh, geez. Okay, we're about to read another one. This one's really fast. Had chicken and waffles. That's interesting, that boy Nate, because that's exactly what my son ordered when we went, was chicken and waffles, and he was like fucking amazing. Lentil soup and a Monster. Did you make lentil soup with the Monster drink? Ooh, or did a Monster eat with you? Telga went out and got you Chinese food. That's very, very American of you. Okay, so next weekend, Liam must have wandered off. There was, once upon a time, a little girl whose father and mother were dead. So, this is not probably the best way to start a fairy tale. I guess unless you're German, then everything's jacked up. People getting their eyes poked out and terrible shit going on. Certain people were talking about Chinese food yesterday, not Liam. Oh, looks like it was Liam. For shame. Yeah, I could do for some Chinese food right now. So Jelly chose a Grimm's fairy tale that starts like this. There was once on a time a little girl whose father and mother were dead. She was so poor that she no longer had a little room to live in or a bed to sleep in. This is a really great fairy tale. This is nice. Who knows? They dead. All right, here we go. There was once on a time a little girl whose father and mother were dead. She was so poor that she no longer had any little room to live in or bed to sleep in. At last she had nothing else but the clothes which she was wearing and a little bit of bread in her hand, which some charitable soul had given her. She was, however, good and pious. And as thus was forsaken by all the world, she went forth into the open country, trusting in the good God. Then a poor man met her who said, "Ah, give me something to eat. I am so hungry." She reached him the whole piece of her bread and said, "May God bless it to your use," and went onward. Then the child who moaned and said, "My head is so cold, give me something to cover it with." She took off her hood and gave it to him. And when she walked a little further, she met a child who had no jacket and who was frozen with cold. And she gave the child her own jacket. A little further on, one begged for a frock, and she gave that away. She's going to be naked soon. At length, she got into the forest, and it had already become dark, and she came upon yet another child. Why are there so many kids just wandering around in these forests? He asked for a little shirt, and the little girl thought to herself, "It's dark at night, so no one sees me. I can very well give away my little shirt." So she gave out her shirt. She stood there naked, had not one thing left. Then suddenly some stars from heaven fell down, and there were nothing else but hard, smooth pieces of money. And although she had given her little shirt away, she had a new one which was made of the very finest linen. And she gathered together the money in her linen shirt and was rich all the days of her life. The end. Jelly, I'm disappointed. I'm not mad at you, but I'm disappointed at you. Because that story was terrible. Terrible. You're mad and disappointed. What was that? That's the thing. That's the thing that gets me about this. There's lots of people begging to be published, and they have lots of good stories, and this shit is known to be great. That was shit. Yeah, what was that? It was terrible. Grimm brothers, you should be ashamed of that shit. What am I supposed to learn from that? Give away all your shit and be naked, V. That's what you're supposed to learn. And trust in God. And then it rains money. To be honest, I liked the one the other day where it rained money out the gold ass. The gold ass was a good story right there. Give your stuff away and the elder god star money. But I don't like to be naked. No one could see you anyway. It was dark in the woods. Just kids begging kids out there. Hey, KC. Good to see you here. All right, what else would we like to read, kids? If you see something you want, put it in chat and we'll read it up. But you can see you. That's how you get your coins thrown at your head from space, is you get naked and go out in the woods. Sweet porridge. All right. Liam, it's 2-pager. It might suck. If it sucks, we blame Liam. There was a poor little girl who lived alone with her mother and they had nothing to eat. This is sounding really similar. So the child went to the forest and back to the forest. They went into the forest and the old woman met her who knew her of her sorrow and gave her a little pot, which she said, "Boil, little pot, boil." And when it would cook good sweet porridge. And when she said, "Stop, little pot, stop," it ceased to cook. The little girl took the pot home to her mother, and now they were freed from the poverty and hunger and ate sweet porridge as often as they liked. Once upon a time when the little girl had gone out, the mother said, "Boil, little pot, boil." And it began to cook, and she ate till she was satisfied. And she wanted the pot to stop cooking, but did not know how. So it went on cooking, and porridge rose over the edge, and still it cooked on till the kitchen, and the whole house was full of porridge. And then the next house, and then the whole street. And just if anyone wanted to satisfy their hunger, the whole world. And there was the greatest trouble, and no one knew how to stop it. At last, a single house was left, and the child came home and said, "Stop, little pot, stop." And it stopped cooking. And whatsoever wished to return to town, they had to eat their way back. The end. I hope you're happy with yourself, Liam. I hope that makes you happy. Once upon a time, a girl's parents were dead in the forest. Okay. Anybody else would like to pick one here? We've had two clinkers. Two clinkers in a row. It does have some Magician Apprentice vibes. All right, pick yours out, guys. If you see something you want, name it. Anything you see? Bird found? Snow White and the Rose? Oh, we already read Snow White and Rose Red. Dr. Knowall, KC says. All right, here we go. 3-pager. There was once upon a time a poor peasant called Crab. It's okay, dude. We read it a long time ago. I'm just trying to read some other words. Whoever named that NPC needs help in naming. Okay? There was once upon a time a poor peasant named Crab. Crab dance. Not a crab dance. Who drove 2 oxen with a load of wood to town and sold it to a doctor for $2. $2. Give me my $2. When the money was being counted out to him, it so happened that the doctor was sitting at the table. When the peasant saw how daintily he ate and drank, his heart desired what he saw, and he would willingly have been a doctor. And so he remained standing a while, at length inquired if he too could not be a doctor. Oh yes, said the doctor, that is soon managed. What must I do? Said the peasant. In the first place, buy yourself an ABC book, the kind which has a cock on the frontispiece. In the second, turn your cart and your 2 oxen into money and get yourself some clothes. And whatsoever else pertains to medicine. Thirdly, have a sign painted up with the words that says, I'm Dr. Knowall, and have that nailed upon your house door. Okay, so this is, Liam, I hope you're paying attention. This is how you get your doctorate, okay? This is how you do it. 1, ABC books with chickens on the front. 2, sell your shit, okay? Then get some clothes, and then buy medicine stuff, just medicine-y stuff, okay? And 3rd, get us, okay. I mean, that's fine. Maybe that's the kind of doctor you are. Right. Get some clothes and raid the hospice store. Okay, yep. And then get a sign that says you're Dr. Knowall. Bam. Doctorate. It seems so much more difficult at the university. But hey, what do I know? The peasant did everything which he had been told to do. He had doctored people a while, but not long, and a rich and great. So check it. He went and did this, and then just started doctoring folks. Like this worked. The peasant did everything he had been told to do. When he had doctored people a while, a rich and great lord had some money stolen. Then he was told about Dr. Knowall, who lived in such and such a village, and must know what became of the money. So the lord had the horses put into his carriage, drove out to the village, and asked Crab if he were Dr. Knowall. Okay, I'm waiting. Jelly. Yes, I'm listening. That's confused me too, but let's read slowly. So the Lord had put the horses put in his carriage. And drove that mess and asked Crab if he was Dr. Knowall. That's not a sentence that I thought I'd ever say. But okay. I mean, you don't know. Maybe you got a bad translation from the German. Oh, those are his entourage horses. That makes sense. Yes, I am Dr. Knowall, he said. Then go with me and bring back my stolen money. Oh, but Greta, my wife, must go too. They have snuck Greta in. This is an unknown thing here. The Lord was willing and let them both have a seat in the carriage. I don't know where they would have fit because there's already horses in there, but big carriage, I guess. The Lord was willing and let them both have a seat in the carriage. They drove away together. When they came to the nobleman's castle, a table was spread and Crab was told to go sit down and eat. But my wife, Greta, too, said he, and he seated himself with her at the table. And when the first servant came with a dish of delicate fare, the peasant nudged his wife and said, Greta, that was the first, meaning that was the servant who brought the first dish. The servant, however, thought he intended by that to say, this is the first thief. And he actually was, and was terrified and said to his comrade outside, the doctor knows everything. We shall fare badly. He said I was the first. The second didn't want to go in at all, but was obliged to. So he went in, and the peasant nudged his wife and said, Greta, that's the second. And the servant was so frightened that he got out. With the third did not fare any better, for the peasant said again, Greta, that's the third. The fourth had to carry in a covered dish. In it were crabs. The Lord told the doctor that he must show his skill by guessing what was under the cover. The doctor looked at the dish, had no idea what was in there, and cried out, Alas, poor crab! When the Lord heard that, he cried, There, he knows who has the money. In this, the servants were terribly anxious. They winked at the doctor to come out to them. When they went out, they all four confessed that they had stolen the money and that they were willing to restore it. They led him to the spot where it was hidden. Thus, the Lord got his wealth back, and Dr. Knowall received a large reward and became a famous man. Yeah, okay. That's all seems kind of how things would happen. I mean, good story. Yeah, they set that all up for a crab pun. Yeah. Alas, poor crab, I knew him well. And he holds up a little crab shell. Okay, who else would like to choose? That was acceptable. We've had a couple of clinkers tonight. What do you guys think? I could pick one too. You like the meteor coins better than crab, doctor. I mean, not all of them can be great. Page 200. Page 200. Bird found. Okay. Bird found. There once was a forester who went into a forest to hunt. When he entered it, he heard screaming as if there were a little child there. He followed the sound and at last came to a high tree. And on top of it was a little child was sitting. His mother had fallen asleep under the tree with the child, and a bird of prey had seen him in her arms, flown down and snatched the child away and set him on a high tree. The forester climbed the tree and brought the child down. And as he thought to himself, I'll take him home and bring him up with my Lena. Okay, let's back up. Let's back up. Okay. Dude's in the forest. Little kid's in a tree. Okay, that far, I'm clear with the details. The reason the kid's in the tree is because the mother had fallen asleep under the tree and some bird snatched the child up and flew it up there. So he climbed up there and got it down right past the mother. And said, "This all right. I'm going to take him home and he'll be my kid." Lena will have a brother. I'm a foster forster. That's not easy to say. Yeah, she's not even mad. She's unaware. She's unaware that her kid just disappeared and now suddenly has a brother. He took him home, and the two children grew up together. The one he had found in a tree, he called Bird Found because the bird had carried it away. He's a bird kidnapper. Bird Found. That's the kid's name. Crab and Bird Found tonight, kids. There's a reason not all the Grimm's fairy tales are well known. That's what I'm learning tonight. Bird Found and Lena loved each other so dearly when they did not see each other, they were sad. The forester, however, had an old cook who one evening took 2 pails and began to fetch water, and did not go once only, but many times out to the spring. Lena saw this and said, "Hark you, old Santa, why are you fetching so much water?" The cook said, "Early tomorrow morning when the forester is out hunting, I'll heat the water. When it's boiling in the kettle, I'll throw in Bird Found and boil him up in it." Yep. Just going to boil the kid. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to boil the kid up. And I need a bunch of water to get that done. Now, here's the thing. Lena doesn't say anything. What? Check out how this works, guys. Lena doesn't say anything. She just goes to bed. Check it out. Betimes the next morning, the forester got up and went out hunting. And when he had gone, the children were still in bed. And Lena said to Bird Found, "If you'll never leave me, I'll never leave you." Bird Found said, "Neither now nor ever will I leave you." Then Lena said, "I'll tell you. Last night, I just figured I would get some sleep first. I was tired. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to tell Dad, the forester with the axe, that his chef is lost his filthy mind. Nope. I just got my 40 winks. I'll tell you, last night old Santa carried so many buckets of water in the house. When I asked why, she said that tomorrow morning when Father was out hunting, she would get a kettle on and throw you in there to boil you. But we would get up quickly and dress ourselves and go away together." The 2 children therefore got up, dressed themselves quickly, and went away. When the water in the kettle was boiling, the cook came into the bedroom to fetch Bird Found and throw him in it. But when she came in and went to the sheets, both children were gone. She was terribly frightened and said, "Now what'll I do when the forester comes home and sees that the children are gone? They must be followed instantly and brought back." Then the cook sent 3 servants after them, who were to run and overtake the children. The children, however, were sitting outside the forest, and when they saw from afar the 3 servants running, Lena said to Bird Found, "Never leave me and I'll never leave you." "Neither now nor ever," said Bird Found. Then said Lena, "Do you become a rose tree, and I the rose upon it?" When the 3 servants came to the forest, nothing was there but a rose tree and the one rose on it. The children were nowhere. Said they, "There's nothing to be done here." They went home and told the cook that they had seen nothing in the forest but a little rose bush with one rose on it. Then the old cook scolded and said, "You simpletons, you should have cut the bush in half and broken off the rose and brought it home with you. Go and do this at once." They had therefore to go out and look a second time. The children saw them coming from a distance, and Lena said, "Bird Found, never leave me, and I'll never leave you." And Bird Found said, "Neither now nor ever." But Lena said, "Then you become a church, and I'll become a chandelier in it." They're the Wonder Twins, guys. They're the Wonder Twins. Wonder Twin powers activate. Form of a church. Shape of a chandelier. So when the servants came, there was nothing there but a church with a chandelier in it. They said to each other, what can we do here? Let's go home. And when they got home, the cook asked if they had found them. They said, nope. Found a church, and there's a chandelier in it. She said, you idiots. Why did you not pull the church to pieces and bring the chandelier home with you? Now the old cook got on her legs. She just got on her legs. Apparently her legs were on before. Now she got them on. And now the old cook got herself on her legs and went with the 3 servants in pursuit of the children. The children saw from afar that the 3 children were coming, and the cook waddling after them. Then Lena said, Birdfrown, never leave me, and I'll never leave you. And Birdfrown said, neither now nor ever. And Lena said, be a fish pond, and I'll be a duck upon it. The cook, however, came up to them. When she saw the pond, she lay down beside it and was about to drink it up. But she fell into the water, and there the old witch drowned. The children went home together and were heartily delighted. And if they're not dead, they are living still. Okay. This last sentence seems obvious. And I don't know a lot about logic and syllogisms. But let's try this on. If Lena and Birdfound are not dead, and Lena and Birdfound are not dead, then they are still living. Okay. I mean, I guess unless they're zombies, then they're undead. If they're not dead, they're living still. That's nice. That's a nice story. Shape-shifting children. Father who abducts children. Sociopathic cook. Witch cook. Drowning. And sleeping mothers. All right, one more. And then we'll I gotta head myself off to bed. We're here about midnight my time. We'll pick one more tonight. Let's see what we got. Maybe I'll pick one. A short one. Oh, those are the illustrations. A short one. Mine might be terrible, too. Let's try this. Let me look up one more. One more page here. Star Money sucked. We already read that one. The 7 Ravens. So there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we're short a raven. Oh, no, there's one more up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. 7 ravens. Here we go. Last one of the night. Tuck yourself in. Warm milk. Give your loved ones a kiss. Turn off your phone for the night. Unless what you're watching this on, then don't turn it off, because then I can't read you a bedtime story. Here we go. There was once a man who had 7 sons, but never a daughter, no matter how much he wished for one. At length his wife had a child, and it was a daughter. The joy was great, but the child was sickly and small, and so weak that it had to be baptized at once. The father sent one of the boys in a hurry to the spring to fetch water for the baptism. The other 6 boys ran along, and they each strove to be the first to fill the jug. It fell into the spring. There they stood and didn't know what to do, and none of them dared to go home. When they did not come back, the boys grew impatient and said, They have all forgotten in the game of play, these wicked boys. And he grew afraid lest the child should die without being baptized, and he cried out in his anger, I wish the boys turned into ravens. Hardly a word was spoken. Before the whirring of wings in the air above his head, he looked up and saw 7 coal-black ravens flying high and away. The parents could not recall the curse, and though they grieved over the loss of their 7 sons, yet they comforted themselves somewhat with their dear little daughter, who soon grew strong and every day more beautiful. For a long time she did not know she had brothers. Her parents were careful not to mention them to her. But one day she chanced to overhear some people talking about her and saying that the maiden is certainly beautiful, but really to blame for the misfortune of her 7 brothers. And she was much troubled. She went to her father and mother and asked if it was true that she had brothers and what had become to them. The parents did not dare to keep the secret any longer and said that her birth was only the innocent cause of what happened to her brothers. But the maiden laid it daily to heart and thought that she must deliver her brothers. She had no peace and rest until she set out secretly and went forth into the wide world to seek them out and set them free, let it cost what it might. She took nothing with her but a little ring belonging to her parents as a keepsake, a loaf of bread against hunger and a little pitcher of water against thirst, and a little chair as a provision against weariness. And she went continually onward, far and far, to the very end of the world. Then she came to the sun, but it was too hot and terrible and devoured little children. Hastily she ran away and ran to the moon, but it was far too cold, and it was also awful and malicious. When it saw the child, it said, I smell the flesh of men. On this day she ran swiftly away and came to the stars, which were kind and good to her. Each of them sat down in its own little chair. But the morning star rose and gave her a drumstick of chicken and said, If you have not that drumstick, you cannot open the glass mountain, and in the glass mountain are your brothers. The maiden took the drumstick, wrapped it carefully in a cloth, and went onward until she came to the glass mountain. The door was shut, and she thought she would take out the drumstick. But when she undid the cloth, it was empty. She had lost the good star's present. What was she to do now? She wished to rescue her brothers, and she had no key to the glass mountain. So the good little sister took out a knife, cut off one of her fingers, and put it in the door, and succeeding in opening it. When she went inside, a little dwarf came to meet her and said, My child, what are you looking for? I'm looking for my brothers, the 7 ravens. She replied, The Lord Ravens are not home, but if you wish to wait here until they come, step in. Thereupon the little dwarf carried the ravens' dinner in on 7 little plates and 7 little glasses. And the little sister ate a morsel from each plate, and from each little glass she took a sip. But in the last glass she dropped the ring which she had brought away with her. Suddenly she heard the whirring of wings and the rushing through the air, and the little dwarf said, Now the Lord Ravens are flying home. And they came and wanted to eat and drink and look for their plates and their glasses. Then one said to the other, Who has eaten something from my plate? Who has drunk something from my glass? It was a human mouth. And when the 7th came to the bottom glass, the ring rolled against his mouth, and he looked at it and saw that it was a ring belonging to his mother and father, and said, God grant that our little sister may be here, and that we shall be free. When the maiden who was standing behind the door watched and heard from that wish, she came forth, and on this the ravens all restored to their human form again. And they embraced and kissed each other, and went joyfully home. What LSD induced fever dream having just bull goose loony shit was this? It started kind of normal ish. Yeah, bogus loony shit. That's what that is. Okay, the kids got cursed into ravens. Okay, fine. But then she just ran to the sun, and the sun tried to eat her, and ran to the moon, and the moon tried to eat her. Just that went there. And then she cut her finger off and stick it in the door, because that worked instead of a drumstick. And why do the ravens have their doors locked with drumstick keys? That was strange. But I think on that note, an hour in tonight, I will leave you. We will be back. We will be back on Tuesday. And I think we're going to start reading Metamorphosis on Tuesday, but I'm not sure. We'll be back at 8 p.m. on Tuesday to do some reading and maybe some D&D building. Yeah, we can start Metamorphosis. That sounds fun. All right, let's do that. Let's start Metamorphosis on Tuesday. That'll take at least a couple of weeks to read, but we'll do that. We'll do some more pop-up streams and bedtime stories when we get a chance. So please join the Discord. Link down below. There is a talk going on in there of Metamorphosis. And you can join the Discord there with that link. Please give Jelly and V and Inventory Full and Acid Burn Punk follows if you don't already. And I will see you all very, very soon. Thank you so much for coming by this late at night. I wish you the best of dreams and that you sleep well with your fingers intact and your fever dreams joyful. We got to see who we're going to raid. We got to see who we're going to... Oh, Jim is on. Wapalius is on. Let's raid Jim then. Let's raid Wapalius. If... Ooh, that's spelled wrong. You do not follow Jim, please do so. One of Kathy Wapple's, Kathy Wapple's husbands, the husband of Kathy Wapple, and an amazing painter. Good night, everybody, and I will see you very soon.